Welcome back to another Film Geek video. Today I am going over my top 10 favorite movies of 2023 plus 5 honorable mentions. So let's not dilly-dally and sit around, shall we? Let's get this party started. Now I would like to state right off the bat that this is just my personal opinion. This is not based off of any kind of critic score, Rotten Tomatoes score, anything like that. These are just movies that I particularly really enjoyed in 2023 and really recommend for you to watch, well, now I guess at home. So let's get this party started, shall we, with the honorable mentions. Now, the honorable mentions are in no particular order. These are just 5 movies that just barely didn't make the list, and the first one that I'm going to kick it off with is Dungeons & Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. I have been a big fan of Dungeons & Dragons going all the way back to about 11 years old. I have always really loved the old tabletop game, and I feel this movie really brought that vibe of playing the game with your buddies, and it was a lot to do with the banter and just the whole vibe of this film. I thought the cast was outstanding, the CGI actually looked pretty solid, and it really dug into that D&D vibe. I can't say that enough. Now, I know this movie didn't do so hot in the theaters, it didn't make a whole lot of the monies, but don't let that turn you away because this movie is a solid film. Look it up because it's definitely out there on a streaming service, I'm just not sure which one. Next on the honorable mentions, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Mutant Mayhem. This film was pure fun from beginning to end. I love this interpretation of the Turtles. Right now, I would have to say that this is my all-time favorite interpretation of the Turtles since the comic book. When the Turtles came out, when the animated series came out, I was already kind of a young teenager. I was around 13, and I was already starting to get into stuff that was a little bit more mature, a little bit more edgier at the time, and so I never really paid much attention to the animated series much. I was more into the old comic book. It was a little bit darker, a little bit more violent, and not that this one is anything like that by any means. This film was just spectacular. It was colorful, it was fun, the animation was tight, the voice acting was on point, the story was fun, the jokes landed. This is a solid family film, I would say. And also, too, great soundtrack, which is something that I feel has been starting to come back in movies lately, as they're starting to pay attention to that soundtrack again. This one, if you're a lover of 90s hip-hop, you're definitely going to find something that you enjoy in TMNT. Next up is a film that did kind of come out in 2022, but I didn't get to see it in 2023 because it wasn't released in the United States until 2023, and that is Mad Heidi. When I talk fun, this is the kind of movie that I'm talking about. Over-the-top violence, over-the-top gore, silly one-liners. This film was called a Swissploitation film, and it actually is a really fun, goofy parody of the exploitation genre, and it's just pure entertainment is all this film is. It's not going to be winning any awards. I guess it won my honorable mention. Good for you, Mad Heidi. But other than that, I don't see it really going anywhere. I do believe this was just a one-night event in theaters also. We did end up buying the Blu-ray for this movie, so yeah, it was just pure fun. I had so much fun watching this movie. It was great. So if you get a chance, check it out. See if it's out there for streaming. Next up, we have The Tunnel of Summer: The Exit of Goodbyes, the anime film that I saw not too long ago. And now this movie, it is your typical kind of anime love story, but I do feel like it's presented in a really unique way. I mean, it's not necessarily as engrossing as, let's say, The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, but it really is a sweet and fun story. The film does have some fantasy elements, but I really feel this film really shines in the more quiet areas when our two lead characters are just by themselves, doing their own thing, learning the rules of the tunnel. It's just a very sweet little animated film, and it's definitely something that I feel you should check out. Next up on the list is Jawan, the Bollywood film that made me love Bollywood. I tell you what, this was a really fun experience for me. I had never really seen a film like this before in theaters, and I got to see it on the IMAX. So this film has everything. It has romance, it has comedy, it has crazy over-the-top action and violence. It has dancing, it has singing. It is crazy, crazy fun. And I am now hooked. Whenever I am looking through the AMC app, I am looking for more films from Bollywood like this, or more Bollywood films like this, because man, I tell you what, if you just want to see something that's pure entertainment and tons of fun from beginning to end, this is definitely a film that you need to check out. Alright guys, so let's get this party started with the actual top 10 list. Coming in at number 10 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. First off, the way that I got to see this movie was probably one of the more fun experiences in the theater I've had in a long time, because Charming Amy and I went to a special event where we watched all 3 movies in a row. And let me tell you, when you watch all 3 of them in a row, it really makes you appreciate all of them so much more. To just get to see the development of the characters and the story and the team from 1 to 3 was just an outstanding, really fun experience. I really enjoyed this movie. It wrapped up the storyline so great. It was amazing. I really got the feels. It pulled out so many emotions in me. For God's sakes, James Gunn, you got me crying over a CGI raccoon, and I don't think I'm ever gonna forgive you for that. Number 9 departs away from the superhero films, and that is something that actually happened in the real world. Number 9, Dumb Money. Dumb Money tells the story of the GameStop stock situation that happened back during the pandemic, where all of a sudden a bunch of retail stock buyers decided to, stick it to the rich assholes and buy up a bunch of GameStop stock. I'm gonna try to do that right, okay? It was really challenging during the original review of this. But anyways, they bought up a bunch of the stock and causing it to skyrocket in price, screwing over these other people. It's a whole thing. If you're into the stock market and such, it was really fascinating and really awesome to watch these just average Joe folks just sticking it to the guy, sticking it to the man. And I think probably that's what I liked about this movie the most. Plus, it was a great performances all around the board. All of the cast did a great job. This was another one of those films that had so many different roller coasters, ups and downs emotionally, all across the board. And another movie that apparently didn't do so hot in theaters. So if it's out there for streaming, check it out because it is definitely worth your time. Number 8 is John Wick number 4. Going back on the whole best wrap-up of 2023, this movie did such an excellent job of pulling together the story and giving us a great conclusion. I loved every moment of this film, beginning to end, up and down. I enjoyed it completely. I really thought this was a solid ending to a really great franchise, a completely independent property that's not based off of comic books or anything. And let me tell you, it kept it solid from beginning to end, and that's the thing I love so much about the John Wick series. This was an original idea, it wasn't based off of anything, and it's done gangbusters, and it's kept up the quality from beginning to end. Number 7, Killers of the Flower Moon. This tells the story of the Osage Native Americans and murders that went on back in the day when they struck oil and became very wealthy. At one point in time, they were actually the wealthiest people on the planet. And we all know what happens when people get a lot of money. It just gets the vultures, and that's exactly what happens in this film. This movie is outstanding. It is beautifully shot, beautifully acted. It tells a story with depth and meaning. I mean, come on, this is definitely a film that we're going to see some awards being handed out to later on in 2024. Coming in at number 6, The Color Purple. I just did a review on this. In fact, it's probably going to pop up at the end of this video, so you can just watch that one if you want me to get a little bit more in depth. But this is the remake of the, I think it's 1985 film. It's a musical. The acting is outstanding. The musical numbers are really well done. The music is catchy. The choreography is on point. The cinematography is beautiful. It's an extremely well-made film and hits every note. What can I say? It's my number 6. It's still in theaters at the time of filming this, and let me tell you guys, it is definitely a see it in theaters film. In fact, IMAX. It is such a huge movie. It is so cool to see all of the choreography and everything. But anyways, if you want to know more about this one, just check out the the video at the end of this video. Number 5, we're getting down into the top 5 now, and this is getting back into the animated and back into the superhero, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, of course, tells the continuing story of Miles Morales, the new Spider-Man in town, and his ongoing saga of learning more about himself. What I really liked about this film also is it dives more into Spider-Gwen, and we get to learn more about her character. This film, storytelling-wise, is amazing. This movie wins on so many levels, it's not even funny. Not only is the animation gorgeous as usual, the story itself gets even more in detail, more depth. It is another roller coaster ride of emotions. You have humor, you have sadness, you have all sorts of things coming at you at once with this film. This movie is an absolute masterpiece, and another reason why I say over and over again, animation is not a genre, it is a medium. It is just another way to make a good film. This movie, because of it being animated, allowed them to tell the story in a different way that you wouldn't normally be able to get. And that is amazing, and it uses it like nobody's business. This film is just gorgeous. I love this movie, and I cannot wait to sit down and watch it again, because I think I might when I get done filming. Coming in at number 4, A Boy and the Heron. This, of course, is the final film made by filmmaker Master Miyazaki. He has made some of the finest films that I have watched throughout my life. He's one of the main influences for me to be really into animation and anime and things of that sort. This film is just a love letter to all of his previous films, and probably the most personal film that he has made to date. I really enjoyed this movie. I do still stand by the fact that I think that this is more of a fan of his films than I think that it would be for people that aren't fans of his films, so I wouldn't be surprised if this is not on your list, but for me, this film is definitely number 4 of the year. Number 3 on the list, Barbie. I don't know what else to say about this movie except that it was all around solid. Absolutely solid movie. When the movie was supposed to be funny, it was funny. When the movie was supposed to be sad, the movie was sad. This film was also, when the movie was supposed to be a musical, it was a musical. Every aspect of this film was meticulously designed. I love the look, the vibe, and the feel of this movie. If you walk away after watching Barbie with a frown on your face, I'm kind of wonder what the hell's wrong with you, because this movie's just absolutely charming as fuck, and I loved it. I really did. I thought it was hilarious. The acting is solid, and, you know, out of all of the big budget, cool, like, prestige films that have come out this year, I'm kind of rooting for Barbie to win Movie of the Year. Okay, so here we are at my final 2, the top deuce of my 2023 movie-going season. Now, let me tell you guys, the thing is about 1 and 2, honestly, these movies, I love these movies so much, but for different reasons. And so honestly, there's not one of these that I would say is number 1 and number 2. Both of these films are just dead equal. So when I say this is number 2, it doesn't mean that it's any less valuable than the one that is going to be my number 1. Alright, so what is number 2? The Holdovers. Oh man, I haven't sat in a movie theater watching a brand new movie that has made me feel the way that film did in a very long time. When I did the review, I compared the film a lot to Harold and Maude. And the only reason is because of the style. The way the film was shot was so much like that time period from the 70s. But it also made me feel the same way I did when I watched Harold and Maude. Except I didn't, really identify with Harold. This time I identified with the adult, Paul Giamatti, in this film. And oh man, what an outstanding performance. What a just outstanding performance out of every member of the cast. This is not just a solid holiday film, an amazing holiday film like some people say. it's just an amazing film. It puts you in all of the emotions. You get to feel sadness, you feel happy, you feel everything from, every kind of emotion you can imagine. I'm going to stop rambling about how much I love this movie. It's number 2 for a reason, because it was going to be number 1 for the longest time until I saw number 1. And number 1 is, come on, like you didn't know it was going to be Godzilla Minus One. Now, I toyed with the idea because I'm doing another list. I'm doing the best horror films of 2023 with 5 honorable mentions, but I was going to put this movie in that list because, yeah, there's a lot of horror elements to this film, but there's also a lot of drama, because what I loved about this movie so much, and the thing that people complain about with Godzilla all the time, is no human story, the lack of anything human in this. And let me tell you, there is nothing but human emotion in this film. From beginning to end, we have just our main characters, just them alone. You have their struggles as 2 people who are survivors of World War II who become a family by just necessity. They just kind of come together. They weren't related. The child wasn't theirs, and so on and so forth. They're just people who come together because there's no other option. And it's best for all of them. They end up becoming a family out of this. And just watching the community come together to take on Godzilla rather than the normal, the military, we need to turn to them for all their guns and bombs. There really wasn't a military to be helping anybody at this time. So all of the people of Japan had to rise up against this monster. Wow, this film just knocked it out of the ballpark. Story-wise, special effects-wise, this movie only cost $15 million to make. $15 million to make. Ant-Man and Wasp, what the hell, man? This movie looks beautiful. It's beautiful. It looks so amazing. Yeah, there's a few questionable little spots, but that's just CGI, man. But 15 million? Oh, wow. So this movie is just a masterpiece in my mind. I loved it. And it is not just because I'm a massive Godzilla fan. I happen to know Godzilla. I met him at Con. Okay, so I met the man who played Godzilla in most of the 2000s films. But the point is, Godzilla's big. I love Godzilla. And that's probably why I put it at number 1, honestly. Like I said, it is dead even with the holdovers. But man, being able to see something like that in theaters, aces. And also, too, big shout out to Godzilla, because that's been my top video of the year. And a big shout out to all of you who have subscribed, because not only did Godzilla get me a lot of views and a lot of subscribers, but I am now over my goal of 1,000 by the end of the year. So thank you to all of you who have been supporting me since day 1. Thank you for all of you that may have just found me here recently. I will keep trying to keep the positivity, the non-negative views flowing as much as I possibly can. So, until I come back with my top 10 with 5 honorable mentions, horror films of 2023, thank you again for watching The Film Geek. I'll be back here shortly with my final video of 2023. Thanks again for watching. If you liked what you saw here, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, ring that bell for notifications, and give me the old thumbs up so I know you like what you're seeing. And if there's one more thing you can do, folks, that is keep watching movies. You know I'm gonna.